This is episode 259 of the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. And now a word from our sponsor, Control and Compound.
Infinite banking in under 60 seconds. We've all got to save our money somewhere, and we think that a high cash value life insurance policy is the perfect place to save it. Why? We're going to save our money inside this policy, and it's going to grow tax-free. Down the road, we're going to get hit with an emergency or an opportunity, maybe a chance to buy a business, real estate property, an income-producing asset, and instead of withdrawing from our savings account, we're going to leverage that asset. We're going to borrow the insurance company's money, and we're going to invest in that opportunity. Our money is still inside of that policy, compounding, uninterrupted, tax-free, and our money's outside in this investment opportunity. We're going to rinse and repeat, all while providing a death benefit for our families. Down the road, we're going to retire. Now we retire with a high cash value life insurance policy with a lot of cash. We're going to start taking those policy loans again, but this time we're never going to pay them back. When I say never, I mean we're going to pay them back with the death benefit when we die, and our families are going to get left with the rest completely tax-free.
For more information, visit www.controlandcompound.com/Andrew Hines. Welcome back to the show. Today I have Aaron Husak on, and Aaron is in Western Canada, Kelowna specifically, and this was a very refreshing episode. Aaron is investing in mammoth cash flow properties. He's a guy that acts on absolute fundamentals. He's a good negotiator, and he's getting absolutely amazing deals. And the interesting thing with Aaron, one of the most interesting things I thought was that his motivations are purely enjoying the process, which if you enjoy the process, man, like you're not going to have to pry yourself out of the bed. You're not going to have to hype yourself up with your why. It's just going to be like, man, this is going to be fun today. And he's having fun. I can tell he's having fun. He talked about his fundamentals on today's show. He's got a trades background, so he's a plumbing and heating mechanical background. So he has a very good sense of what things should cost, and he's looking for properties that need a lot of work. So he talked specifically on today's show about a property in Kelowna, BC, as well as a property in Calgary, Alberta, what he did and the cash flow that he's getting. So got a very good sense of his approach for investing, and I found it super interesting. I think you will too. As always, I'm just going to ask you before we get into the show, if you're enjoying the show, please share it with somebody. If you think this could help somebody, please share it with them. Help this show to grow more. That's how I can keep making episodes for you. And without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in with Aaron Husak. Please enjoy. Hello and welcome to the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. I have Aaron Husak. Am I saying that right?
Yep, that's pretty good.
Yeah, Aaron's on the show from out west, so we're doing a distance episode here. Aaron, thanks for doing this. I know we had a mutual acquaintance that was connecting us, and I don't know your story, so I'll first off hand it off to you to kind of share with us a little bit about your background and how you came to be on this podcast talking about real estate.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess I've been in the trades at a young age. I got into the trades at about, I'm going to say around 16 years old. And I ended up getting my plumbing, heating, gas fitting ticket at 20 years. So I was pretty young at that time getting my tickets. And I live in Kelowna, BC. So I jumped in at about 20 and I purchased my kind of first house then. And it was a grow up. And I kind of renovated. And that's kind of how I got started in the industry.
It was a grow op, you said?
Yeah, it was a grow up. So we had to got everything down to the studs, pull everything out. They had a big grow up downstairs, so it was pretty nasty.
Wow, that's interesting. I have many questions to ask you about that. Okay, so tell me about the grow up. So one of the interesting things with these is, and I've actually nixed the deal like the day before closing. I didn't close it, and I already had windows ordered for it and everything, like ready to renovate. Mm-hmm. Found out it was a former grow up. And the reason I didn't like them is because like forever in the bank's records, it's a grow up. Even if you tore down the house, excavated out the foundation and started from scratch, that's a former grow up, that address. So how did you handle that? And did you find it was an issue with the banks? Like, tell me about it.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, that was a long time ago now. We had to do a B lender, I remember, on it, but it didn't really worry me. I mean, I was 20 years old at the time too.
Nothing worries you when you're 20.
Exactly. So I kind of just thought, okay, there could be a lot of mold, kind of a lot of stuff. There's processes and systems we had to do, obviously, with the city, the removal, the remediation, but we just went step by step, and I took those processes and I completely gutted the whole thing. So down to the studs. I got it for a really good price at the time. So I got it for about 240,000, and that's in Kelowna. I mean, prices have skyrocketed since then, but even then that was a really good price. So I knew I had a buffer for my renovation.
Yeah, that's great. And I think grow ops could potentially be a fantastic opportunity. And I've always thought that it's just like there's this unknown that comes with it. Now, I know that some banks will work with them if they've had full remediation and it's been documented, and that would make sense. And I guess this is probably one of those fear of the unknown scenarios where if you become an expert in it, you just go out and be the guy that buys grow ops and converts them back. But I just having worked in the mortgage biz, I'd have these lenders come visit me and they'd just say, "Oh yeah, we don't do former grow ops." Just like factually, we just don't do them. Like, oh, well, what if they're immediate? Just, yeah, totally, that's cool, but yeah, we don't do them. Okay, well, that's kind of the problem. So interesting. So did you end up selling that one?
No, I still have it today. I have it rented out, and everything's going smooth with it. So
and who's it financed with, if you don't mind me asking?
Right now, it's financed with TD.
Okay, so they didn't have an issue. Or I guess it just didn't come up.
No, it didn't come up. No, I didn't have an issue.
Because if they knew on the buy, like the lawyers do the searches, they would tell the bank, right? But if you're with a B lender to start and you refinance, maybe it just doesn't even come up. I don't know. That's interesting.
It is, and I don't think it even came up after I went with the B lender, and I didn't even refinance it. I think the term, we had like a 2-year term, I believe. And then I just flipped it to the A lender, but there was no questions and I didn't remember having any problems with it.
And I bet you a lot of times, like even with actual former grow ops, there's just no one notices and it just slips on through, right? So that's great. Hopefully you never have an issue. I mean, I can't see why at this point you would, but yeah, that's really cool. So tell me a little bit more about, what you did after that. So how long, well, first off, how long have you been investing? You said 20s when you started. So how old are you now?
I'm 34 now. I took a hiatus for probably till about 2016, because I started a plumbing and heating company on my own, a little construction company for about 6 years. But with everything that wasn't working out the best for me. I really struggled, and having people not paying, things like that. And so I didn't really purchase real estate. Yeah, I would say for probably the next 6 years or so, or 7 years. And then I kind of jumped back into it. So there was a gap. There was a gap there.
What year did you jump back in?
I'm going to say 2016, 2017, I started really purchasing real estate again.
Okay. And was it still good deals in Kelowna?
There's still, you know what? There was still a lot of good deals. Like,
give me an example. What were you buying for in 16? And like, what type of project were you trying to acquire? What did it look like?
So 2016, I wouldn't say, I was just trying to buy houses and build suites. Like, I didn't know the BRRRR method. I wasn't doing that. So my first place I bought it was a brand new renovated house, and I bought it for about $450,000, and it had a suite at the top, suite at the bottom, completely redone. I just built a wall in the stairs, and I lived at the top, rented out the bottom, and I got it appraised maybe 4 months later, and it was probably worth $550,000, maybe $100,000 more just by purchasing it.
Wow.
So that was my second house, I should say, because I did still own my other house from there.
And did it fully did that fully cover? So you said 400 and what you bought it for?
$450,000.
$450,000. Okay. So did it fully cover from a cash flow standpoint with you renting out from the downstairs? Oh yeah. I mean, I lived in the top, but if I rented everything out, it'd probably cash flow about $400 a month. That one. Oh, okay. So not a complete house hack for you, but it was like a pretty good house hack. It helped you save a few $100 a month. Yeah,
Exactly.
got the tenants paying your mortgage.
Exactly.
That's a great strategy. Okay, so then things kept progressing for you. You had just shut down the plumbing and heating business, not doing that anymore. So were you just fully on
Exactly.
your own, like you're an entrepreneur renovating houses and doing your thing
Yeah.
at that point?
And then, yeah, but I was also at a second job. I was also in sales. So this is when I jumped into sales for the heating and cooling side. And
Okay.
then I jumped into, so I had a sales job, and then I wasn't running my own company, or I had the sales, I started the sales side of things for heating and cooling.
Okay. So you moved away from that, got into sales as an employee. Are you still doing that now?
I'm still doing that.
Okay.
I'm still sales in
That
sales.
helps
Yeah,
that helps get mortgages and such. Okay.
it does. It does.
All right. So talk me through the progression of like kind of properties you got into after that.
Yeah. So then I would say I purchased a second property, and they had it, and this is, I think it was 2017, 2018. And there was a bit of a slump, and they had it up for 480,000, and it was a dump. It was really gross. And sitting on the market for about, I want to say about 90 days. And I believe I offered them 380. They told me to go pound sand. They then called me a month later and say, okay, would you do 440? And I said, how am I supposed to do that with the numbers? And, I'm an investor. And then they came back another month later, and they gave me what I wanted for about 380.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
That's great. Okay. So 380, and what were you able to do with that one?
So then I completely renovated it. I believe I put about I want to say about 80K into it, and it has 6 bedrooms. So 3 bedrooms down, a bathroom, a kitchen, 3 bedrooms up, bathroom, kitchen. So I think it came in at 480, and then I got appraisal, and it was worth about 630 at the time.
So you were in for 480 with your renos?
Yeah, yeah.
And were you doing any of those renos yourself, or was it all subcontracted?
No, I contracted a lot of it out. I mean, I do know the construction side very well. Like I say, I got my plumbing, heating, gas fitting ticket. So I had some friends come in, but I did contract, I would say 85% of it out.
Okay, just did a few of the jobs yourself. Like, would you do your own plumbing because that's your trade?
You know what? I put a couple toilets in a kitchen sink. That was it.
Okay.
I didn't do too much. Yeah, at
And
the
now
time.
fast forward to today, are you doing any work at all yourself, or is it all contracted?
No, no, it's all contracted out.
Okay. So that's a good segue into today because obviously you've given us some numbers that people just can't relate to anymore. Unless they go to the US, you can
Yes.
still relate there. Uh,
Yeah.
what does it look like now? Are you still acquiring properties out there?
No, it's interesting. There's a couple. I think I bought a couple foreclosures. Like in the since I actually, it was interesting. I listened to a friend gave me your podcast in 2020, and that's when I heard about the Burr, and that's where I studied what you did. So I actually had some pretty good wins in the last couple years in Calgary, and we just got one in Kelowna. So depending which route you want to start, we can talk about the Alberta properties were first, and we just purchased one a couple, well, probably about 7, 8 months ago in Kelowna, which has
Yeah.
been doing really well.
Well, I want to focus on Kelowna a little bit because I don't know that I've had anybody who invests in Kelowna on here. I feel like maybe there was one. But
Okay.
I love Kelowna. I've been there one time and I thought it was just beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, in the summer, it's amazing.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I mean, it just struck me as a place where it'd be quite unaffordable because it's such a desirable place. Although I hear it has a lot of drug problems too, so I don't know where that all kind of lands. But it seems like a really nice place to be, which would indicate probably expensive. So talk to me about how the numbers work these days.
Yeah. I mean, everything's pretty high, but I mean, my strategy is I still go on the MLS, and I would look for properties that were on the MLS, 90, 100, 150 days. And then I would contact the seller agent, and I would talk to them myself. So probably, I can't remember exactly, 7, 8 months ago, I saw a full duplex. So the property had, we added a couple bedrooms. So one side had 6 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms. The other side had 6 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms. So 12 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms total. So it's a pretty big place, just around 4,000 square feet.
So wait, you call that a duplex? So you're saying 6 bedrooms in is it like a side by side, like a semi-detached?
Side by side duplex.
Yeah.
Side by side duplex. We call it that. You can turn it into a fourplex.
Okay.
So
is that what you did, or the plan was to separate the units into a fourplex?
Yeah. Well, what we did, it was appraised, like basically the assessment was at $1,050,000 and they had it up for $970,000. And I saw it sitting there for days and days and days. And I contacted the seller agent and I went really low. I offered them $600,000 for the property. They told me to go pound sand, obviously, take a hike. They came back to me 2 months later and they said, okay, what about 800 grand? And I said, I can't do that. Then they contacted me a month later. They said 650. And I said, let's get it done for 600. So I ended up stealing that property for $600,000.
You just stay right on the 600. That's great.
I stay on that.
So were you not motivated at 650? Did the deal not work?
I don't know. A part of me likes to have fun, and I usually use it as a game. I would see.
You live life on the edge, man. I would have taken the 650 probably. Like if I'm going to do the deal at 600, I'm probably doing it at 650.
Yeah,
especially that type of deal where I know it's like it's a value add project, right? Like you're going in, you're going to be adding units. But I mean, at that point, could you not have just like closed it, relisted it on the market? If you were interested in flips, you could have relisted it on the market for probably 700 and sold it. Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
There would have been some like instant profits for you.
Oh yeah. I knew the value right away of if I renovated it, and I knew the after repair value. So I don't know why I didn't go for the 650. I just wanted that 600 and I ended up getting it. So
yeah. Would you have been disappointed though if you didn't get it? Like 650 you said, but then they lowered the price list, on the market and got a sale done. I guess you probably would have been disappointed.
Oh yeah, I would have been kicking myself.
Yeah. Well, and I'm just thinking about this. It's great to man, it really reaffirms how important it is to be making offers at numbers that work for you. And then just make a lot of them and don't be emotionally attached to any one deal. That way, if it comes around, you're never going to get anything if you're not making offers.
I completely agree. And I think, Andrew, my strategy is making 3 to 4 deals a week now. And
you're making 3 or 4 offers a week?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm trying.
So you're calling up the listing agents. You're never taking a buyer rep. You're calling up all the listing agents. Now, of course, all of them are going to try and get you on a buyer rep. Or most of them, but I'm sure you just say, I'm an investor, I don't do that, so please don't present me with a buyer rep. Like you can have the buyer rep for this property, but we're not going to be doing that for
exactly.
Do you sign is it customer service that they do for you, or are you signing like they're representing you and the seller equally?
See, that's a funny question, because what happened with the Kelowna property is she then went back to her client and she wanted a bigger commission. So then she was essentially working for me as well.
Really?
So so I feel like, I don't know, some real estate agents.
They're going to get like the double end, right? If they do customer service for you, I think they still like double end the deal, right? Like they represent the seller, and I don't know, the laws might be different in BC for that. So I don't really know. Like in Ontario, I know I see that like, I, as a seller, have signed with a realtor as customer service, so they didn't represent me, and they were representing the buyer's interests, and I had to be okay with that and still pay them. But so in your case, like it's so smart what you're doing. First off, you're being consistent, you're making a lot of offers, working with the realtor directly. That realtor is extremely motivated to get a deal done for the ability to double end the deal. So maybe they're getting 5-6% commission instead of 2.5, 3. I don't. What's
absolutely?
Is it normally like 2.5 out there for a buyer real estate agent? Do you know?
Oh, you know what? They all vary. They all vary. Some of them. Yeah. But what I find is they might say they have their client's best interest, and I'm sure some of them do, but a lot of them then just see the money signs and start. And
like we call that commission breath.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
They find
yeah.
out what I could make that much. Oh, really? You want to work with me directly? You don't have your own realtor? It's just an extra motivation for them to find reasons to convince the seller to work with your offer. You know what? If you
Absolutely.
work with this guy, I'm working directly with him, so I can kind of massage the deal, make sure everything goes smooth. Like, and some of it's very legitimate, right? So, yeah, good on you for doing that and being so consistent. So, tell me what you're like. Tell me like macro at this deal. Like, what do the numbers look like when you're done? And are you in the process of renovating this now?
It's like 95% complete. So I can run some of these numbers
Mhm.
with you right now.
Sure, yeah, let's do it. You purchased for 600. I'm gonna write that in. What do you think your
Yeah.
total renos and carrying to get to the finish line are?
Okay, so renos were probably, now we did the whole thing. Now I got, like I said, I had a lot of friends and contractors that I knew. I got some stuff at cost, but it was about 180,000, 190,000, call it.
Okay.
So probably around 790K for that. And carrying costs, we're probably looking at about 3,000 a month for 6 months. So what's that? About 15, 20 grand?
And you came in with a mortgage and you're saying carrying costs is just, yeah, that's your interest and your property tax and insurance, everything covered in that 3,000?
Yeah, probably go 3 to 4 grand. Call it
Yeah.
4 grand.
4 grand a month for 6 months?
Yeah, call it eight. Call it 8 months.
Yeah, 8 months. Okay. So you're like 222,000 to do all of that. And so
Yeah,
that puts you in an all in around 820, 822 I got here.
exactly. So I was looking and then I guess we were looking at comparables too in the area in Kelowna, side by side duplexes, and it goes up and down, but it's completely done. So I think each side, I mean, I'll be conservative, is probably about 650,000 per side.
Okay. So 1.3 million for the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's work out the rest of the numbers. So what do you plan to do with it first off? So you're gonna have 4 units. Are they just gonna be 4 units rented out?
I'm actually just going to do, it's actually 2 units. So one side has 6 bedrooms, three
Okay.
bathrooms. And what we plan to do is I'm going to get students in there, and I'm they say you can get about $1,000 a room, but I'm shooting for 875 per room. So I'm going to fill each room up with students.
So 875 times 12, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. So that's 10,500 a month.
Yeah.
That sounds nice. All right.
Yeah. It's not bad. It's not bad.
Okay. So, what are your property taxes on that place?
I think they're around it's all going to be, I think it's around 3,800.
That's it. Okay. So Kelowna's not too bad.
Yeah, because it's only because I haven't. What I could do is I can legalize it and separate the two, but I haven't done that yet. But the
So,
two duplexes.
oh, are you saying like to convert it into 4 units, or you're saying it's not even technically two separate units? Two separate legal addresses. It's just
Well,
it's one building.
It's got two separate legal addresses.
Yeah.
But
it's one title.
Considered exactly. It's not two
okay.
titles.
Okay, one title. Okay, that's good clarity there. Okay, so what's the insurance bill there? I mean, obviously you guys have forest fires once a year, so what does that affect things?
You know what? It depends if you're in the area where it does, right? If you're closer to, forests and things like that. But this one's not too bad. It's about 4,000 a month, or 4,000 a year. Sorry.
4,000 a year. Okay, and then maintenance. What are we gonna? I just gotta actually correct the number of doors here. What do you budget typically? Like a 5%?
Even a little lower. Well, like there's not a lot of maintenance on this one. Like I get them to shovel the driveways. I get them to do everything. I mean, the place is completely redone. So I typically, when I renovate and got everything, there's no issues, right? I never have electrical issues or plumbing issues.
Well, put it this way, like if you had to repaint, especially with students, repaint a couple of rooms in here. Like, so if we budget 3%, that's $3,780 a year.
Yeah.
Could you see yourself spending that?
I couldn't,
You couldn't? All right, we'll put that down at
no,
2.
no, but let's put it down as well. Let's just
Okay, so we'll put that down
in
at
there.
2, but then I'm going to have a 2% replacement reserve for the one day that you got to replace the furnace, replace the roof,
Yeah.
the windows and
Oh
stuff.
no, yeah, everything's done.
Yeah.
Everything's
Yeah.
done.
Yeah,
Furnace,
exactly.
yeah,
So
but
we
put
just
the
budget
reserve in.
2% as a reserve for down the road when you have to do it. But I agree with you. Yeah, everything's done. I like to build that in just because one day you'll have to pay it and you'll want to have budgeted for it.
Yeah.
Okay, so common utilities, in that case, you'd be paying everything, right? If you're doing students?
Correct.
So what do you think you're going to pay for 12
That's
kids?
a good.
You're going to
That's
have
a
one
good
internet,
question.
right? One internet. You'll share that for the whole thing. Are you going to give TV?
I don't think
Probably not,
so.
right? Everybody uses Netflix.
I'm gonna see. I mean, it's got like I put tankless hot water heater systems in there, the highest efficient furnaces. We did everything. So
Okay, so
That's a
if
good
we just break
question.
it down to electric, water, and gas, like could you see yourself spending $500 a month between those three consistently?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I could see, like, if I did that property here, I would spend more than that. I'd probably be like 600 a month consistently, something like that.
Yeah, we could just. I think that those seem like fair numbers for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so are you going to provide internet, or you're not sure?
I'm not sure. I might just provide it because it's not too much to throw in there.
Maybe $100 a month.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so if you do all that, you're like 7,200 for the utilities and internet. Landscaping and snow, you're going to have to do that, I'm assuming. Use those students, unless you're going to have the students do it.
I'm going to have the students do it. I'll have shovels there and stuff for them.
I wouldn't get them to do the grass cutting because they'll never do it.
No, and it's all gravel in the front. Like it's all gravel to park up there.
Oh,
and and the backyard's getting excavated because I'm going to put some units in the back. It's zoned for it. I'm waiting till next year until the sewer because it's on septic. So next year, gonna build a carriage house in the back.
Oh, cool. So there's more opportunity here. Okay, so
oh yeah.
If you're gonna have the kids do all the upkeep, so you have no maintenance costs, I'll just leave like a $500 miscellaneous allowance there. So that puts you at 1.3 million. Even if you bought on the market at 1.3, I'm getting a 9% cap rate, which is insane. So you're going to finance this with what kind of institution when you're done? Like you're going to BRRRR this, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I'm going to BRRRR it and pull all the money out, and then I'm actually just working.
What kind of mortgage do you think though? Like like banks are not going to love this because they're going to know it's a student rental, likely, right?
Yeah, it's going to be commercial.
Yeah, so you go like 75% commercial financing, 25-year amortization, probably like an 8% rate. Maybe less.
7? Yeah, probably around 7% right now. I got another one in Red Deer. It's commercial and it's 7%. So
cool. Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot of movement in the bond rates lately. So I mean, what we say today might not be true next month, but hopefully it'll be less for you. That'd be good. Okay, so your net cash flow in that scenario, if all those numbers play out like we just discussed, is $2,900 a month.
Yeah,
that's a great deal.
It's not bad.
That's a great deal. That's just one property.
So it's not bad at all.
Are you doing this one by yourself or with a partner?
No, I got a partner in it as well.
Okay, so I'm just running through your numbers here. Your total investment, that's the key here. What is your total investment going to be? Because you're going to have like perfect BRRRR here. I can't even calculate an ROI because your 75% of 1.3 million, if you get that, is 975, but you're only going to be in for 822.
Exactly.
So you're pulling out, 90 grand plus getting $3,000 a month in rent.
Yeah. And I don't think we're going to pull that 90 grand out. We'll just pull the money we put into it out.
Okay, so you wouldn't take the full mortgage. You just take enough to get what you had into it.
Exactly. Back. So it might be whatever that is, 65% loan to value.
Okay. Yeah, which is just going to make your cash flow that much better. But if you're doing deals like that all day long, like rinse and repeat, like it's been a while since I've heard a lot of people coming on the podcast talking about that kind of success in the modern era, like since the rates started coming up. So
yeah. Tell me more. I just don't think I mean, my system is like I look for foreclosures. It's consistency. I'm always throwing out offers and I have no emotional attachment and I know the number I need. Like we finished one in Calgary, a fourplex, and that was another slam dunk and that was a foreclosure. Right.
So they do actual
yeah,
foreclosures in Calgary, not power sales.
that was actual foreclosure. Yeah.
So it's bank owned then.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So you're buying from one of the big banks, presumably, or could have been something else.
Yeah, you know what? It was a real estate agent I met down there contacted me and he said, "Hey, because I had another fourplex down there." He goes, "This is identical to what you have. You could probably scoop it up for this number." And I said, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, this you could probably scoop it up for this number." And I don't think they're supposed to tell you. He goes, "We have one offer." And I said, "Well, what's the offer?" He goes, I'm not supposed to say." I said, come on. And he told me the number. And then I went 5,000 above his and I got it.
Man, that used to happen to me, and they're not supposed to say that. That used to happen to me. Bidding against this guy, I would try and buy properties, and I would put it
Yeah.
I'd put a pretty aggressive offer in, and every
Yeah.
time he'd be the last to present, and he would always insist on presenting in person. And then, wouldn't you know it, he'd beat my offer by $600, like not even $1,000 more.
Yeah. Oh,
And obviously, I know what's
I mean,
happening, but nobody's gonna say it. Nobody's gonna say it. Yeah.
I was on the end of the other side of that one.
Yeah. Well, man, you're pulling out the lucky ones there. That's great. So that one, is that similar type of numbers to this? You said you turned it as a fourplex?
Yeah. It's similar. I can run through those kind of numbers right now too, if you want.
Yeah, give me a high level. Like, what's it look like? Is that going to be a student rental? Is that going to generate over $10,000 a month too?
No. Like it's so basically, I purchased it for 520,000. Put 135K into it. It's after it was around 655. Call it 680 with, and then there was holding cost 7. But it just I'm still getting that one appraised soon. But I've talked to a couple appraisers and they say it's going to be worth about $1 million.
Okay, so you're in for 700. It's worth $1 million. You're still probably going to be able to pull all your money out or close to.
Oh, yeah. No, I'll be able to pull. I kind of crunched some numbers and they even said even maybe $1,050,000 because it just keeps going up in Calgary. I'll be able to pull everything out and maybe, an extra 50, 80 grand. But that one's got higher because each unit rents for about $2,000 and there's 4 units. And then it's just long-term renters.
Okay. So you're going to be $8,000 a month.
Maybe just a little under too.
Okay. So like 7,500.
Yeah, I call it 7,500.
Yeah, I mean, there's still. We could run through the rest of the numbers too. Like, are your taxes similar? Like 3,500 a year or something like that? Tell me about what that looks like.
Yeah, tax is about 3,500 a year. Insurance is 3,800 or 3,500.
Yeah, and then maintenance on something like that, like budget a little higher, obviously, I think. Or
yeah,
you're
it's
fully
funny.
redone as well.
It's fully redone. Everything's gutted. Everything's new. And then I've got another fourplex on the same road. So there's a guy there that I pay $20 an hour, any maintenance. He's the biggest handyman. He knows everything. So it's really handy to have him there for now.
That's awesome.
But yeah.
And what kind of management do you have out there?
I've got a couple friends in Calgary that go and look at the property, but there's not a lot to manage because.
So you don't actually use property managers?
No, they're I don't believe in them.
Okay, so I budgeted 4.25% on that other deal.
No, I don't use no.
Okay, so your cash flow's even better on the other deal. So
yeah, and I'm not going to take that 90 probably K out too. So
when people put when they self manage, I usually just budget like 1% to cover some of your internal costs. Okay, utilities on something like this, are you going to just be paying for water because it's central, or is there anything else central like gas?
No, they put everything under their name. So they put water and sewer under their name, electric.
So are there 4 separate water meters?
Yeah.
So you have no utilities?
No utilities.
Dude, that sounds great. So I'm working your numbers out here. Let's see here. So let's see here, equals. I may have made a mistake on your last one now that I'm looking at my formulas on the sheet. Did my numbers sound too high on your last one?
For cash flow, do you mean?
Yeah. Or did you think
It
made
seemed
sense?
it seemed a little low.
A little low? You think it'd be more than what I said?
I do, but that's
Okay.
okay. We'll
All
go
right. So on this
conservative.
one, yeah, I might have made a mistake. But anyways, so on this one, you are going to be, are you going to finance it the same way? 75% loan to value?
See, no, depending not like I just usually typically take out what I put in,
Okay.
depending on the situation, right? So
All right. So 75 would be 750, but if you're all in for 70 or 700, then we'll just do 70% loan to value. So 25-year AM, 7%. Your cash flow would be like 1,300 a month on that. Does that sound right, or do you think that sounds too conservative?
yeah, we went 7,500. I'm getting like 18, 19, some two. So it's probably,
Okay.
I mean, call it 15 to two. I call it about $2,000.
Yeah, and I have that replacement reserve in there, like just for
Yeah,
life cycle items, which obviously in reality in your cash flow it's actually higher. So yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Okay, so just for purposes of calculating total return, I mean, I can't calculate an ROI because you have no money into it, but you do have your time into it.
Yeah.
So this is the type of deal you do now. Do you have any more in the queue?
I'm working on a couple that some. It's funny once you get a hook on a seller agent, they come back and forth, and so there's a couple deals. I'm working with some seller agents right now. We're trying to negotiate a price, so we'll see. I got and then I got another one of kind of a bigger project, 3 houses that I got an older fellow that wants to sell, so that'll just be on the side, no agent. So we're working on some stuff. I'm trying to see where that goes. But yeah,
dude, that's really cool.
Always got stuff in the pipeline. Yeah.
The consistency is so critical. Like just making those offers, and I'm seeing it now. And I've never, because you hear people say it, but I've never been one to make a ton of offers. And I feel like that's what I've been kind of not doing a great job of lately, with the exception of I'm sending out offers in Florida, and I just blasted out 6,000 offers over the course of a month, and then I just sent another 4,000, and in batches of 3,000 offers, I tied up a deal out of each one of those batches. A good deal. Could be great. We'll see. I mean, time will tell. But it's like, holy crap, that was a lot of offers to be made. Now, these are blind offers in the mail. But I mean, for what you're doing, obviously the conversion rate's much higher on that. And it's not instant, but if you're doing, so you're saying 4 or 5 offers a week, just always making that.
I wouldn't say that. My goal is 3 a week.
3? Okay.
3. So I'm trying to look, at night I'll look at the MLS, I'll crunch some numbers. I mean, already in my head, I know exactly the renovation costs, and I'll try to shoot out 3 a week.
Okay, so Calgary and Kelowna are the 2 places that make sense to do this?
Honestly, like Calgary, Red Deer, Edmonton. I mean, anywhere makes sense.
Yeah, but you have to have a team, right? This is what I'm trying to get at. For you, I get it. You say you've got friends, but do you have friends in every city?
So, okay, that's a good question. No, what I'll typically do, because I know what everything costs. I've been doing this so long, is so, let's say in Calgary, I'll call companies, I'll call handyman that I know, that I'll call different people, and I'll talk to them, and I'll even negotiate price on flooring, on framing, on painting. I'll negotiate all that, and I'll get the prices down that way too. And everything typically goes pretty smooth. I mean, I did have squatters in one of my properties in Calgary for 14 months. That was hell, but that's a whole different story.
14 months? How'd that happen? I thought the landlord rules were good out there.
Oh, you would think so. But not when it was COVID. So what happened is I purchased a fourplex in Calgary, and I had a friend checking on it. He was a real estate agent, and it only set vacant. There was 1 unit out of the 4 that basically had tenants in it. The other 3 didn't. People broke into it and started squatting and started selling drugs, and it turned into a trap house. And I hired a property management team, and to take care of it. And they kept saying, "Oh, it's going to be another 2 months." And I said, "What's going on?" So it wasn't even had to do with the RTB. I then hired a lawyer, a residential real estate lawyer. We then had to get a court order. But because of COVID, everything was pushed back in the courts, so it took so long. So it ended up taking me 14 months to get these squatters out.
Wow. Similar problems to Ontario then. Interesting. But obviously, I think the norm out there is not like that, though.
No, right now, I would say if anything like that happened, get a real estate lawyer right away, get a court order. Courts aren't backed up anymore like they used to be. A lot different. Probably 2 months now, you could get them out.
Get them out, yeah. I like that, but it just keeps the system more honest. If tenants know they got to pay, they don't play games. If landlords know, like, tenants could just go anywhere and rent, and you know, I think landlords play less games too. Like, if you just jack the rents up to whatever you want, your tenants leave. So if you have good tenants, you're not going to do that. You're just going to be reasonable about your rent increases if you do them at all. Like, is that a normal part of your business in Alberta to do rent increases, or you just look at whatever the market is and try and match it?
I haven't done any rent increases lately. They're good tenants and everything's been going good. So as long as they're not giving me headaches, I treat them fair. And I look at my cash flow and I look at it as a business and I look at where I'm at. As long as I'm cash flowing and making good, I'm not going to up it a whole bunch because I don't need those headaches. My end game is scaling this bigger. So I'm not looking to nickel and dime people that are treating me well. I want to treat them well.
And that's like the way I prefer to work in Ontario too. And I think the big problem people have is if you don't keep up with the allowed rental increases, then you just fall behind and you can't. Then you end up with basically a squatter that pays. You know, they're paying so under market, right? And that's the issue that happens here. Whereas in Alberta, you'll actually have rents come down. Like, the market will come down and rents will come down sometimes. Like, I'm sure there were landlords in like after 08 that actually lowered rents for people. You know,
oh, for sure.
Next year your rent will be $300 less per month.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
So
it's just a different environment. I would prefer that type of environment, though. It's more honest.
I completely agree, and that system has been working with me. Just as long as they're respectful and they're a good tenant, leave it alone.
Yeah. Now you can not renew somebody in Alberta, right? Like, if they're a tenant in your building, you can just choose not to renew their lease for the next year, and then they're done. Like, there's no presumed continuation of a lease. Or month to, it doesn't turn into month to month.
No, you could just basically let them know. I mean, what a lot of people would do would just say, "Hey, we're upping this $1,000," and they'd be like, "Okay, see ya."
Yeah, like, oh, we're not going to pay that. Yeah,
and that's
it's so different from here. That's wild.
Oh, so hey, Kelowna's like you guys. We can't get rid of tenants. Calgary's the wild, wild west.
Yeah, out there in ranching country.
All of Alberta, right? All of Alberta. Like, I got in Red Deer, I got a property too, but
so is that the future for you, like Alberta investing? Like, are you trying to grow more within BC, or is it not worth it?
It's where the numbers work. So I do like Alberta, but I love Kelowna, I love BC, I love BC's beautiful. So I'm sticking to Alberta and BC, and wherever I see it, I'm sending offers, and whatever works. And like I say, I have no emotional attachment to it. Yeah. So I'm right now, I'd love to go down the States. I don't know a lot about that right now, but I'd work myself down there. But right now I'm sticking to, I'm getting these deals.
Why bother? Like, if you've got your system working there, why bother? Like, you don't need to.
Exactly.
I think the States is more of a logical move for people if you're going to start somewhere, or if you don't like what you're currently doing. Maybe that's a place to start new, but you don't have to, of course. A lot of people from here are going out to Alberta and investing because they like the laws there. The numbers at surface value don't seem better from what I see right now, at least not in general. I'm sure there's like smaller towns and all that do seem better, of course. But if you're like wanting to invest in like Calgary or Edmonton proper now, like, those prices have been pushed up from what I've seen for the multis. And I just get this from my brother-in-law, who's often on my my YouTube show, like, you know, saying, hey, I have people sending me deals they're looking at out there. I'm like, I get the same deal here. So the difference is in the laws, of course. But with your model, you're obviously getting great deals because you're putting in aggressive offers on properties that need quite a bit of work.
Correct. Yeah, exactly.
So these are properties that are so bad that people are letting them sit. Like, they're not flying off the shelf.
everybody is scared of them. That's like when someone goes in there and they're like, oh my God, this is like when it stinks and it's gross and there's holes in the wall. That's the offers I want, because there's a small percentages that's willing to take that risk. And the more risk you take, the higher, I believe, the more value you can create.
But I don't find and it's been a while since I've been aggressively trying to find deals in Ontario, but I don't really find that those deals, at least not in the height of the market, were sitting. Like, it didn't matter what the property looked like. There was always a buyer. And so it's gotten to a point now where it's a more balanced market out there. So the crappy properties don't sell, huh?
I think right now, with all those interest rate hikes, it's balanced out.
It's to balance the market. Which is where the opportunity, this is why I say, like, everyone looking at the US, there's opportunity here, because now sellers will listen. Like, you're having sellers call you back. Like, that didn't exist 2-3 years ago. They weren't calling back because they didn't need to.
And that's when I flipped to Alberta, and Alberta was still slowly climbing. So I hit Alberta at the bottom, and then I came back to Kelowna on this last deal with the interest rate hike. And, I'm just kind of following the markets. I follow the interest rates because I truly believe, if they do start lowering it, it's what's going to happen. I mean, we don't have inventory. We don't.
Values will go back up.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, you're
it's on sale right now.
Great position from what I can see once those go back up, especially because the numbers you're giving me, they can survive the 7% interest rates. They could probably survive 10, 12. That's the place where I want to be as an investor. I don't want to be riding a thin margin like, oh, if rates go up to 4%, it won't cash flow anymore. That's not a good model to build on. Not in my opinion.
No, and that's if you scale large at that, that's how you go bankrupt.
Yeah, exactly. Because it just takes a scenario like what happened where the Bank of Canada honeypotted everybody and said, oh, they'll stay low forever or a long, long time. And they just started jacking rates anyway. Like, you can't trust anything they say. And when you have such a thin margin like Ontario, it was, it's a recipe for disaster. So anyways, things look like they're more positive going forward. But again, you don't take them at their word. So we'll just have to see how things play out here in Ontario. But if you go out like you're doing and you just insist on getting a fantastic deal, then it really doesn't matter. And that's I'd much rather be there. Just don't settle. Just get a great deal. So you're willing to put in the time. It does take some time to renovate these.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And coordinate all that. And how does that fit? Like, what's your daily schedule look like? Are you 8 hours of work plus doing all this?
So basically my job right now is I'm in sales for heating and cooling. So furnaces, air conditioners, heat pumps, things like that. So I'll go into a home and I'll sit down with customers and talk to them. So typically, I'll have three a day. So in between, I'm driving, I'm sending emails for that. But in between, I'll be making phone calls, organizing this at night. So it can intertwine with my life right now. Everything can kind of works.
Nice. And do you have kids?
No kids, just a girlfriend.
Yeah, I was assuming that would have come up because you wouldn't have had the time at night to be entering or searching deals.
Very
so
true.
The nighttime is the time for checking out properties and crunching numbers and looking at properties, that kind of thing.
Exactly. I'll kind of go onto the MLS website. I'll see it. I'll use your spreadsheet. And then, I know my numbers pretty well. I know my renovation costs. Because I got 22 doors right now. I've been doing this for so much. It's almost, it's the same old dance. So yeah. And then just my thing is I would say stay consistent, do 3 offers a week, and you're bound to have a real estate agent come back to you and say, okay. And the big thing is to know how to negotiate. Like, I read a book called Never Split the Difference, Chris Voss, and I use all his questions out of there. And it's surprisingly, if they want to sell and you're the only person that's interested, depending on certain things, they will come down.
Yeah, Never Split the Difference. I've heard of that one. I got to check if I have that in my library because I want to check that out.
That's the best negotiating book to ever. Yeah, I would highly, highly recommend it. I use it on a daily.
That's awesome. And everybody could use more training in negotiations and sales. Like, those are 2 things that everybody should take training on. Books,
absolutely,
courses if you got the time. Okay, so Aaron, what motivates you to keep growing? Like, I get it. You still have the job, so that's kind of taking care of your day-to-day needs. The real estate portfolio seems to be a long-term wealth play for you, but also a huge cash flow play if they're doing what this student rental looks like it's going to do. So, I mean, do you need the job? Like, what's the bigger picture look like to you?
No, I don't need the job right now. I don't know. I just have fun with it. I look at it more as a game. I look at real estate as a game, and like I'm not emotionally attached. It's not, I'm kind of a frugal person. I don't like fancy things. I have fun with it, and it's more of, I want to get it at this number. I'm going to try to get this. It's just I just look at it as a game. That's it.
And I totally got that from the way you talk. Like that, it's not like this big goal you're going for. It's just like, hey, this is kind of fun. I like doing this.
Yeah.
So you don't get bored of it?
That's it. No, I love it. No, because there's such a high when you get that, when you close a deal at such a ridiculous number. It's just like, wow, I got another one.
Yeah. That's great. My mother-in-law's like that. I always remember her saying stuff like that. She'd have a bell in her office that she would ring when she just like crushed a great deal.
Yeah. So it probably very similar. So I could never see myself, like I said, I'm not a person that can ever retire. I have ADD. I always like to be on the go.
Yeah.
I have fun with everything. So it's just one big game. That's it.
Love it, man. That's great. And it's like very useful. It just keeps you moving forward and like winning. So now you just have this growing portfolio that's just going to like take care of your family and future generations and all that. So love to hear it. Where do people follow you, learn more about you?
I mean, I don't have very much. I have Instagram. And people feel free to, if they have questions or anything, they can email me, Aaron@blairmechanical.com or phone me. I'm wide open. If anybody wants to ask me any questions about renovations, any questions about negotiations, anything, I'm here. I don't mind a 5-minute phone call, 10-minute phone call. So
cool, man. Well, yeah, this has been it's been interesting. It's nice to hear people are still getting it done. Like, it's just that no excuses. Just set your parameters. One thing I did was before we go, could you just walk me through real quick? Like, what is it that you're looking for when you're going out and looking for properties right now? Like, you set your search parameters. What are the things that you're kind of looking for to just disqualify all the other deals and just focus on the ones that are going to fit your criteria?
Yeah, what I do is I look up duplexes that I can either convert into fourplexes right now, and I'm starting to do bigger sixplexes. And then I put, you can put a number of days it's been on. You can put the amount. So typically, I look if it's 90, 100 days, 200 days, and I'll just call the real estate agent right away, and I'll just feel them out. And I'll, hey, what's going on? Why do they want to sell it? I'll try to get some information from their side. See if they're an urgent seller, see where they're at. And typically I'll just say, hey, I'm really interested, and I'll start the process with that. But I would say just have the MLS app, look for whatever you're looking for. I typically duplexes to turn into fourplexes, and then just have those conversations and consistently call, because practice makes perfect. Repetition is the mother of all skill.
And are you following up with these realtors? Like, are you tracking them in a spreadsheet and following up with them?
I am not tracking them in a spreadsheet.
So you're just calling them. You're winging it every day. You're just calling what you see. No, I've already talked to that one.
Exactly. And if they have my number, they have my information, and hey, 3 weeks they get back to me, and I said, oh, okay, this one's coming back. But I will say this: you need a certain skill set. Learn how to negotiate. Learn how to talk. Learn if you don't know, right? I'd recommend all that. Don't. You can just go into it blind, but you should practice, and you should always be learning new skills. And if you're negotiating and you're doing like this, learn how to negotiate, learn how to communicate.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. All right, Aaron, thanks so much for doing this. That brings us to about an hour here. And I'm glad we had a chance to meet. This was a really interesting conversation, and stay in touch, man.
Yeah, you too. Thanks, Andrew.
Talk soon. And now a word from our sponsor, Control and Compound.
Here's how infinite banking works in under 60 seconds. You have to save your money somewhere. Well, we think the best place to save it is inside a cash value life insurance policy. You save some money in there, it grows tax-free for the rest of your life. Then an opportunity or emergency comes along. Let's say a few years down the road, you can buy a business, buy a property, buy an income-producing asset. You leverage the infinite banking policy, borrow against your asset, take advantage of the opportunity. But your money still stays in the infinite banking policy. You're not borrowing your money, you're borrowing the insurance company's money. So your money's in the policy, it's in the opportunity, and it's providing a death benefit. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. You get to retirement, and you have this massive cash value life insurance. Leverage that tax-free, and you don't repay those loans. You sit on the beach and you spend that money tax-free every month. Doesn't show up on a tax return, and you leave your family a huge tax-free death benefit.
For more information, visit www.controllingcompound.com/Andrew Hines.